The deep space mining vessel Groundbreaker shuddered as its drill arrays tore through another asteroid in the Kuiper Belt. Captain Sarah Chen watched through the reinforced viewport as chunks of ice and rare minerals filled the collection nets, her ship's powerful spotlights cutting through the darkness at the edge of the solar system. 20 years of deep space mining had taught her to trust her instincts, and something felt off about today's operation. "Captain, we're picking up some unusual energy readings," Maya Rodriguez, the ship's sensor specialist, called out from her station. "It's like nothing in our database." Sarah was about to respond when a massive distortion rippled through space ahead of them. The Groundbreaker's sensors screamed warnings as reality itself seemed to tear open, revealing something that shouldn't exist this far from the sun. A ship, but unlike anything humanity had ever built. Its sleek crystalline structure pulsed with internal light, its design more resembling abstract art than the utilitarian vessels humans used for space travel. But what caught Sarah's attention wasn't its beauty. It was the fact that it was being pursued by what looked like living shadows, tendrils of absolute darkness that seemed to devour the very starlight around them. "All stop," Sarah commanded, her crew responding instantly to the authority in her voice. "Maya, full sensor sweep. Raj, power up the defense systems, but do not target either the unknown vessel or its pursuers. Let's not make any assumptions." The alien ship's crystalline surface was cracking, patches of darkness spreading wherever the shadow creatures touched it. Through gaps in its failing hull, Sarah could see beams of light and crystal, their movements speaking of panic and desperation. "Captain." Maya's voice was tense. "The shadow things, they're consuming energy at a quantum level. The alien ship's power systems are being drained. At this rate, they'll be dead in space in less than 10 minutes. Sarah Chen had never intended to oversee humanity's first contact with alien life. The Groundbreaker was a mining vessel, not a diplomatic ship or a military cruiser. But looking at those beings of light and crystal, watching them fight for survival against creatures that consumed the very essence of existence, she knew she couldn't just watch. "Raj, prepare the plasma drills for defensive deployment. Maya, start broadcasting on all frequencies. Use basic mathematical sequences to establish communication. Tom, move us between that ship and those things, but keep our distance until we know more." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency, though Sarah could see the tension in their movements. This wasn't an asteroid mining operation anymore. This was potentially the most important moment in human history. The alien ship's response came in pulses of light that Maya's systems quickly translated into mathematical patterns. Basic communication established in seconds, speaking volumes about the advanced nature of their technology. "They're calling themselves the Luminary," Maya reported. "Their engines are failing, life support critical. The things attacking them, they call them Voidborn. Energy parasites that appeared in their space 6 cycles ago. They've lost 3 worlds to them already." Sarah watched as one of the shadow creatures reached for her ship, only to recoil as it encountered the electromagnetic field generated by the Groundbreaker's hull. A theory began forming in her mind. "Maya, full analysis of our shield frequencies compared to the alien vessels. Raj, redirect power to the plasma drills, but don't fire yet. Tom, hold position." The shadow creatures seemed confused by the Groundbreaker's presence, their attacks on the alien vessel slowing as they studied this new obstacle. Sarah could almost feel their alien intelligence assessing her ship, trying to understand why they couldn't simply drain it like they had the Luminary vessel. "Captain, I've got it." Maya's excitement was palpable. Their shields operate on quantum field manipulation, incredibly advanced, but the Voidborn have evolved to bypass them. "Our electromagnetic shields are primitive by comparison, but sometimes primitive is better," Sarah finished. "The Voidborn evolved to counter their advanced technology, not our brute force solutions. Raj, power up all drills. Tom, bring us closer to the alien vessel. Maya, see if you can transmit our shield frequencies to them. Show them how to modify their systems." The Groundbreaker moved with purpose now, its massive frame positioning itself squarely between the luminary ship and its attackers. The plasma drills, designed to tear apart asteroids, hummed with power. "Voidborn approaching," Captain Raj reported. "3 signatures, moving to surround us." "Let them come." Sarah's voice was steel. "Maya, are you getting through to the luminary?" "Yes, Captain. They're adapting their systems now. It's crude by their standards, but it should work." The first Voidborn struck the groundbreakers' shields, expecting to drain them like they had countless luminary defenses. Instead, they met a wall of electromagnetic energy that their energy-draining abilities couldn't bypass. The creature recoiled, its darkness rippling with what might have been pain. "Drills at full power," Raj announced. "Ready to fire." Sarah watched as the Voidborn gathered for another attack. Humanity's first act in galactic affairs, she mused, will be to teach advanced aliens the value of keeping things simple. "Raj, light them up." The groundbreakers' plasma drills fired, streams of superheated matter tearing through space. The Voidborn, evolved to counter quantum field manipulation and advanced energy weapons, had no defense against the raw destructive power of superhot plasma. Where the luminaries' elegant weapons had passed through them harmlessly, the human mining tools ripped them apart. In the aftermath, as the groundbreakers' crew worked to stabilize the damaged luminary vessel, Sarah received her first direct communication from their crystalline captain. The beam's light pulsed in patterns that her ship's computer translated into words. "You have saved our lives with technology we would have considered primitive. Perhaps we have much to learn from each other." Sarah smiled. "Captain, I think humanity just earned itself a place at the galactic table. And not a moment too soon, because if these Voidborn have destroyed 3 of your worlds, I have a feeling we're going to need each other." As she watched her crew begin the delicate process of docking with the alien vessel, Sarah Chen knew that the universe had just become a much larger, more dangerous, and more interesting place. Humanity's age of isolation was over, and their first step into the galactic community had been not through diplomacy or war, but through the simple act of helping those in need, with mining tools, of all things. The story of humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage would be told and retold across countless worlds, but it would always begin here, with a mining captain who chose to act, and a crew who proved that sometimes the simplest solutions were the best ones. The galaxy was about to learn that humans, for all their primitive technology, had much to offer. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Concordat sparkled like a field of stars, its crystalline walls reflecting the bioluminescent forms of 200 species representatives. Captain Sarah Chen stood before them in her simple mining uniform, feeling distinctly out of place among beings of light, energy, and exotic matter. But she stood straight, proud, knowing that the recorder sphere floating beside her was broadcasting this session to every corner of known space. So, the Prime Speaker's thoughts resonated directly in her mind, their translator implant working overtime. "You propose that we, the most advanced civilizations in known space, should adopt mining technology as weapons." The being's tone carried carefully controlled dismissal. Sarah gestured to the holographic display, showing the groundbreakers' encounter with the Voidborn. "With respect, Speaker, I propose that we should stop assuming advanced always means better. The Voidborn evolved to counter your quantum weapons and energy fields. They never had to face simple physical forces." A ripple of disagreement moved through the chamber. A gaseous being floated forward, its clouds darkening with emotion. "Our civilizations have moved beyond such crude applications of force. To suggest we regress. To suggest we survive," Sarah interrupted, earning shocked ripples from the assembled aliens. 3 of your worlds are already dead. How many more will you sacrifice to maintain your technological pride?" The chamber erupted in overlapping conversations, most of them outrage. Sarah noticed, however, that the luminary delegation remained quiet, their crystalline forms pulsing with colors she was learning to recognize as thoughtful consideration. The Prime Speaker raised an appendage for silence. "Captain Chen, while we appreciate your assistance in saving the research vessel, You must understand our position. Humanity has barely achieved interplanetary travel. Your species still uses chemical rockets for planetary ascent. How can you possibly? A noob alarm cut through the chamber, its urgent tone universal across species. The main display shifted to show a solar system Sarah didn't recognize, where shadows were spreading across a populated world. The Voidborn have reached the Helios system, someone announced. Planetary shields are failing. Deploy the defense fleet, the Prime Speaker ordered. Belay that. A new voice cut in. The luminary captain Sarah had saved stepped forward, their crystalline form glowing with determination. I have witnessed their weapons fail against these creatures. We need a new approach. Sarah watched the display, her mind racing. Those planetary shields, they're quantum field based, like your ship defenses. Of course, the Prime Speaker answered. They are the most advanced protection systems ever developed. Then you've just given the Voidborn a feast, Sarah said. You're trying to stop them with the very thing they eat. She turned to the luminary captain. The modifications we made to your ship, could they be scaled up? The crystalline being pulsed with excitement. Yes, I believe they could. But we would need every mining vessel in the human fleet, Sarah finished, and not just the ships. We need the drilling platforms, the electromagnetic generators, everything we use to break apart asteroids and protect ourselves from solar radiation. The Prime Speaker's form flickered with uncertainty. You propose to defend an advanced civilization with primitive mining equipment. No, Sarah corrected. I propose we combine your advanced science with our practical engineering. Your quantum computers can enhance our targeting systems. Our electromagnetic fields can be amplified by your power sources. Together, we might create something the Voidborn haven't evolved to counter. The display showed the shadows spreading further across the populated world. Millions of lives hung in the balance while the council debated. The luminary captain moved to stand beside Sarah. My ship's crew lives, because this human understood that new problems sometimes require old solutions. I stand with Earth. One by one, other representatives began to signal agreement. Even the gaseous being who had objected earlier shifted its clouds in a pattern of reluctant acceptance. The Prime Speaker's form pulsed with what Sarah was coming to recognize as resignation. Very well. Captain Chen, you have one planetary rotation to prove your theory. If we fail, Sarah said quietly, there won't be much left to debate, will there? The next 12 hours were a blur of activity. The Groundbreaker became the impromptu command center for the most unlikely engineering project in galactic history. Human mining crews worked alongside beings of pure energy and crystalline intelligences, adapting their rugged technology to work with power sources they barely understood. Sarah watched from the bridge as the first hybrid defense satellites moved into position around the threatened planet. They looked bizarre. Elegant alien alloys housing what were essentially heavily modified mining drills and electromagnetic generators. The luminary captain, who Sarah now knew as First Light, supervised the power integration. Your people are remarkably adaptable, First Light observed. Most species would struggle to work with technology so far beyond their understanding. Sarah smiled. Humans have a long history of using tools we don't fully understand. As long as we can figure out which button turns it on, we'll find a way to make it work. The first Voidborn attack came just as they finished positioning the defensive grid. Sarah watched, heart in her throat, as the shadow creatures encountered their hybrid defense system. The result exceeded even her hopes. The Voidborn, expecting to feed on quantum shields, instead found themselves caught in overlapping fields of electromagnetically charged plasma, their energy-draining abilities useless against the brute force approach. The mining drills, now powered by alien energy sources and guided by quantum computers, tore through their shadowy forms with devastating efficiency. Primary Voidborn cluster has been neutralized, Maya reported, her voice tight with excitement. Secondary clusters are retreating from the system. The council chamber erupted in celebrations that transcended species barriers. Sarah felt First Light's approval radiating beside her. The Prime Speaker's next words would be recorded in history books across 1,000 worlds. It seems, Captain Chen, that humanity has more to teach us than we realized. The Council hereby extends an official invitation for Earth to join the Galactic Concordat, not as a primitive species to be uplifted, but as equals who have proven their worth through innovation and courage. Sarah looked at the display showing human mining ships working alongside advanced alien vessels, their combined technology creating something entirely new. Thank you, Speaker, but if we've learned anything today, it's that no species is primitive or advanced. We're just different. And right now, different is exactly what we need to be. As she watched the last Voidborn signatures vanish from the system, Sarah Chen knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy not by matching the advanced aliens' technology, but by showing them the value of keeping one foot firmly planted in practical solutions. The age of cooperation had begun, and with it, hope for survival against the darkness that threatened them all. Earth's Luna base had never seen anything like the facility that now dominated its sea of tranquility. The Convergence Center, as humans had dubbed it, stretched across 10 square kilometers of lunar surface, its domes and spires a bizarre fusion of human industrial architecture and alien crystalline engineering. Commander James Rodriguez, formerly chief engineer of a deep space mining operation, watched through the reinforced viewport as a luminary training ship attempted to navigate an asteroid field simulation. The crystalline vessel, despite its advanced technology, kept shattering holographic rocks instead of maneuvering between them. "They're still thinking like energy beings," Sarah Chen said beside him. After the success of the Helios defense, the former mining captain had been promoted to director of joint operations. "They need to understand mass and momentum the way we do." The luminary ship made another attempt, this time moving more cautiously. In the observation deck's other window, a human mining vessel was receiving similar training from alien instructors, learning to integrate quantum navigation systems with their conventional engines. Integration Team 6 reports success with the hybrid shields, James reported, checking his tablet. "They've managed to combine our electromagnetic fields with Concordat quantum barriers. The Voidborn won't be able to feed on them, but they still provide protection against conventional threats." Sarah nodded, but her attention was drawn to a new arrival in the lunar harbor. The vessel that descended looked like someone had merged a human drilling platform with a luminary cruiser. Its hull was standard human alloy, but it rippled with crystalline growths that pulsed with internal light. "The stonecutter is ready for its first trial run," First Light announced, their crystalline form materializing beside Sarah. The luminary captain had become humanity's strongest advocate in the Concordat and now served as co-director of the Convergence Project. "First of her class," Sarah said proudly. "A true hybrid warship. Human engineering supported by Concordat power systems and computing. Have the crew adjustments worked out?" First Light's form pulsed with what Sarah now recognized as amusement. It was challenging to create environmental systems that could support both human and crystalline life forms. But the benefits of having both species aboard outweigh the complications. The stonecutter's design had been controversial in both human and alien circles. Many believed it was impossible for such wildly different species to serve together effectively. But Sarah had insisted the ship needed human intuition and practical problem-solving, combined with luminary technical expertise. "Director Chen," a voice called from the operations center. "We're receiving reports from the Antares sector. Multiple Voidborn signatures detected, larger than any we've seen before." Sarah exchanged looks with First Light. The Voidborn had been quiet since the Helios defense, but they all knew it was only a matter of time before they adapted and returned. "Show me," Sarah ordered, moving to the main display. The readings made her blood run cold. These weren't just larger Voidborn. They were organized, moving with clear purpose and strategy. "They're learning," First Light observed, their crystalline form dimming with concern. "These attack patterns, They're no longer acting like simple predators. James studied the tactical display. They're avoiding the systems where we've deployed hybrid defenses. They're targeting vulnerable worlds first, building their strength. Sarah watched the movement of the shadow creatures across the star map, her mind racing. Something about their pattern nagged at her. "These readings," she said suddenly. "The energy signatures of the larger Voidborn. Maya, can you compare them to deep space sensor logs from before first contact?" Maya Rodriguez, now Chief of Joint Sensor Operations, quickly pulled up the data. "Match found," she announced after a moment. Similar energy signatures were detected in the Kuiper Belt 6 months before the Luminary encounter, but they were dismissed as sensor ghosts. "They were already here," Sarah breathed, "in our solar system. But they passed us by. Why?" First Light's form pulsed rapidly as they processed this information. "Your system's electromagnetic field. Your sun produces much more electromagnetic interference than most stable stars. Could that have masked your presence, or warned them off?" James added. "If they evolved to feed on quantum energy, a strong electromagnetic field would be like..." He searched for an analogy the aliens would understand. "Like trying to eat while being constantly shocked." Sarah turned to the viewport, looking at the stonecutter. "We've been thinking about this wrong," she said slowly. "We've been trying to fight the Voidborn, to drive them back. But what if we could make entire systems uninhabitable for them? Create artificial electromagnetic fields around vulnerable stars." First Light caught on immediately. "Using modified versions of your mining shields, powered by our energy sources. We'd need thousands of generator platforms," James said, already calculating, "and a way to maintain them across interstellar distances." "The Concordat has the production capacity," First Light said, "and our quantum communication networks could coordinate the generators. But the engineering challenges are exactly what humanity does best," Sarah finished. "We've spent centuries figuring out how to work in hostile conditions. Now we just need to make space hostile for the Voidborn instead of us." The next few hours were a blur of activity as the concept was refined into an actual plan. The Stonecutter's first mission would no longer be a simple patrol. It would be a test of whether their hybrid technology could create a sustained electromagnetic field large enough to protect an entire star system. As Sarah watched the combined human-alien crew board the vessel, she felt a surge of pride. 6 months ago, humanity had been alone in the universe, considered primitive by galactic standards. Now they were teaching advanced aliens how to think differently, how to combine elegant theory with practical solutions. "There's an old human saying," she told First Light as the stonecutter prepared for launch. "Necessity is the mother of invention." The crystalline being's form shimmered with what might have been a laugh. "Perhaps, but humanity, it seems, is teaching the galaxy to be better inventors." The stonecutter rose from the lunar surface, its hybrid systems humming with power, carrying the hopes of 2 very different civilizations. As Sarah watched it go, she knew that win or lose, the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had brought something unique to the stars, not just technology or techniques, but a way of thinking that challenged millennia of advanced civilization's assumptions. The real war against the Voidborn was about to begin, and it would be fought not with elegance or brute force alone, but with the combined strengths of all species involved. The age of isolation was truly over, replaced by something far more interesting, the age of convergence. The Challenger Deep Research Station hung suspended in Earth's deepest ocean trench, 11 kilometers beneath the Pacific surface. Inside the reinforced command center, Sarah Chen stared at readings that seemed to defy everything they thought they knew about the Voidborn. "The signal's definitely coming from down there," Maya confirmed, her fingers dancing across holographic displays that merged human and alien sensor technology. "Something about the pressure, the darkness, and the electromagnetic fields generated by the thermal vents. It's creating conditions similar to Voidborn space." First Light's crystalline form pulsed with agitation. "We never considered looking in liquid environments. Our worlds are..." They paused, searching for the right words, less fluid than yours. The discovery had been accidental. A deep-sea mining operation had detected anomalous readings similar to void-borne energy signatures, but instead of the destructive patterns they were familiar with, these readings were stable, almost dormant. The Stonecutters' first mission to generate a system-wide electromagnetic field had succeeded, but the power requirements were enormous. They needed a more efficient solution, and Sarah had a hunch that whatever was lurking in Earth's deepest trench might hold the answer. "The hybrid vessel is ready," James reported from his station. The submersible they'd created looked like no craft ever built on Earth or any other world. Its hull combined human pressure resistance technology with luminary crystal matrices designed to withstand both crushing depths and quantum anomalies. Sarah turned to the assembled crew. 3 humans and 2 luminary would pilot the vessel, their complementary abilities essential for what they might face. "Remember, this is purely investigative. We observe, we record, we return. No unnecessary risks." First Light's form sparkled with what might have been irony. "Director Chen, I believe humans have a saying about the best laid plans." Sarah smiled despite herself. The aliens were learning human idioms almost as fast as humans were learning alien technology. "Just try to bring my people back in one piece, old friend." The hybrid submersible, dubbed Deep Diver, detached from the station with practiced precision. Sarah watched it descend into darkness that seemed to swallow even the luminary's natural bioluminescence. Passing 8 kilometers, Maya reported, hull integrity holding steady. Quantum field matrix stable. The vessel's external cameras showed a landscape alien enough to be another planet. Bizarre creatures drifted past, some bearing their own light in this lightless realm. But it was the thermal vents they were interested in. Massive underwater chimneys spewing superheated water and minerals into the cold abyss. Energy readings increasing. One of the luminary crew members reported, their thoughts translated by the station's systems. The pattern. It's familiar but different, like hearing a song played in a minor key. The deep diver approached one of the larger thermal vents, its sensors probing the complex electromagnetic fields generated by the interaction of heat, pressure, and minerals. What they found there would change everything they thought they knew about their enemy. "Director," Maya's voice was tense with excitement. "We're detecting quantum signatures in the vent field, but they're organized, structured, almost like a natural quantum computer." First Light finished. The mineral formations in the vent, shaped by pressure and temperature over millions of years, they've created a lattice capable of storing and processing quantum information. Sarah leaned forward, her mind racing. "Are you saying these vents are some kind of naturally occurring quantum processor?" "More than that," the luminary science officer aboard Deep Diver reported. "The electromagnetic fields here, they're not just similar to void-borne space. They're the inverse. Where void-borne energy signatures create chaos in quantum fields, these structures create order." The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. "They're not just passing through our universe," she breathed. "They're running from something. The void-borne, they're refugees." The discovery sparked a flurry of new scans and theories. The thermal vent formations weren't just similar to void-borne energy patterns. They were what void-borne space looked like before whatever catastrophe had turned them from beings of ordered quantum energy into creatures of consuming chaos. Approaching primary vent structure, the Deep Diver's human pilot reported, getting some strange readings from the crystal matrix. What happened next occurred too fast for anyone to react. The luminary crystals in the submersible's hull began to resonate with the quantum fields around the vent. For a brief moment, space itself seemed to twist, and through that twist, they all saw it, another universe, one of pure quantum energy, being devoured by something even darker than the voidborn. The vision lasted only seconds before the Deep Diver's safety systems kicked in, pulling them back from the vent. But it was enough. "Now we know," First Light said softly as the submersible began its ascent. "The voidborn aren't invaders. They're running from extinction in their own universe, consuming quantum energy in ours to survive." Sarah stared at the readings, her mind already working on the implications. Then we don't need to destroy them. We need to help them stabilize. These vent formations, if we could replicate this pattern in space, we could create safe havens. James caught on. Places where their quantum structure could stabilize without consuming other species' energy. A way to end this war without genocide. First Light agreed. But the engineering challenges. Sarah looked at the impossible vessel they'd created, at the humans and aliens working side by side to solve problems neither species could handle alone. That's what we do best, isn't it? Solving problems everyone else thinks are impossible. As the Deep Diver docked with the station, Sarah knew they had found more than just a weakness in their enemy. They had found hope. Hope that this conflict, like so many before it, could be ended not through superior firepower, but through understanding and innovation. The real question now was whether they could implement their solution before the Voidborn's desperate consumption of worlds forced them into a war nobody wanted to fight. The race against time had begun, and the stakes were higher than ever. The vast shipyards orbiting Mars had never been so busy. Hybrid vessels of human and alien design filled the space around the red planet, their hulls bristling with modified deep-sea thermal vent technology. Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the stonecutter, watching as the last components of their desperate plan came together. The Voidborn fleets have consumed 3 more systems, Maya reported, her voice tight with exhaustion. They're moving faster now, almost like they know what we're planning. First Light's crystalline form pulsed with concern beside her. The quantum calculations are clear. At their current rate of consumption, they'll reach Earth's sector within 30 standard days. We're running out of time. Sarah studied the tactical display, showing the shadow creatures advance across the galaxy. The Voidborn weren't just consuming worlds now. They were moving with clear purpose, as if driven by some overwhelming necessity. After what they'd discovered in the Challenger Deep, she thought she understood why. Status of the resonance network, she asked. James checked his readings. 17 artificial vent fields deployed and operational, each one generating stable quantum fields modeled on the deep-sea formations. But we need at least 30 to create a large enough safe zone. The plan was ambitious even by human standards. They were attempting to create an artificial quantum sanctuary in space, a place where the Voidborn could exist without consuming other species' energy. The technology combined everything they'd learned: human pressure containment systems, luminary quantum engineering, and the natural processes they'd discovered in Earth's deepest waters. New contact. Maya's warning cut through the bridge. Massive Voidborn signature emerging from quantum space. It's larger than anything we've ever seen. The tactical display lit up with a darkness that seemed to devour light itself. This wasn't just another Voidborn cluster. This was something else entirely. As they watched, the massive shadow began to take shape, forming into something that defied description, a being of such scale that it made their ships look like atoms before a galaxy. By the first light, the luminary science officer whispered, "It's their seed ship, the vessel that carried them from their dying universe into ours." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. The quantum readings from the entity were off the scale, but they matched perfectly with the patterns they'd discovered in the thermal vents. This wasn't just a Voidborn. This was what they had been before their transformation into energy parasites. All ships, battle stations, Sarah ordered, but her mind was racing in a different direction. Maya, compare those quantum signatures to our artificial vent field readings. They're harmonic, Maya reported after a tense moment. The patterns match almost exactly, just vastly larger in scale. First Light's form brightened with sudden understanding. They're not attacking. They're searching. The seed ship sensed our quantum sanctuaries and came to investigate. Sarah made a decision that would either save 2 civilizations or doom them both. All ships power down quantum weapons, maintain electromagnetic shields only. Maya broadcast the thermal vent harmonic patterns on all frequencies. The massive shadow entity paused in its advance, seeming to study the signals they were sending. Then, slowly, it began to change. The darkness that had seemed so threatening began to shift, revealing patterns of light and energy that reminded Sarah of the crystalline structure of First Light's people. "They're responding," Maya reported, her voice filled with wonder. "The quantum patterns, they're synchronizing with our artificial vent fields." Through the stonecutter's viewports, they watched as the massive entity divided, spreading out into smaller forms that were still intimidating but no longer seemed bent on consumption. Each new form settled into the quantum sanctuary fields they'd created, their energy signatures stabilizing for the first time since entering our universe. "They're transforming," First Light observed, "returning to their original state. The sanctuary fields are providing the stability they needed." The process took hours, but when it was done, the Voidborn were no longer creatures of devouring shadow. They had become beings of structured quantum energy, their forms reminiscent of both the luminary's crystalline beauty and the organic complexity of Earth's deep-sea life. Sarah felt First Light's approval radiating beside her as the first attempts at communication began. The transformed Voidborn were sharing their story, the death of their universe, their desperate flight through the quantum void, and the corruption that had turned them from creators into consumers. "To think," First Light mused, "that the key to saving both our civilizations would be found in the darkest depths of your world." Sarah smiled. "Sometimes you have to go into the darkness to find the light." She watched as human ships and alien vessels worked together to stabilize the remaining sanctuaries. We all assumed the Voidborn were invaders to be fought. Instead, they were refugees who needed help finding their way home. Home. First Light's form pulsed thoughtfully. "Perhaps that is what we have all found here. Not just humans or luminary, or even transformed Voidborn, but a new way of existing together." The next few weeks saw changes that would reshape the galaxy. The transformed Voidborn shared technologies beyond even the Concordat's understanding, while human engineers helped design more permanent versions of the sanctuary fields. The hybrid ships that had been built for war became vessels of exploration and cooperation. Sarah stood in the observation dome of the newly established Trilateral Council Station, watching ships of all three civilizations moving through space together. Human vessels still looked utilitarian. Luminary ships still gleamed with crystalline grace, and the transformed Voidborn's quantum ships seemed to dance between dimensions. But they all moved in harmony now, each bringing their own strengths to their shared future. "You know," she told First Light as they watched a new class of hybrid ship begin its maiden voyage. "When we first looked up at the stars, humans imagined we'd find either allies or enemies out there. I don't think anyone expected to find both, and then discover they were the same thing all along." First Light's form shimmered with what had become recognizable as laughter. "And I don't think anyone in the Concordat expected that the solutions to our greatest challenges would come from mining tools and deep-sea vents." Sarah watched as the ship disappeared into quantum space, carrying representatives of all three civilizations to establish new sanctuaries across the galaxy. Maybe that's the greatest lesson in all of this. The universe is far too complex for any one species to have all the answers. But together, First Light finished, we can find answers none of us could have imagined alone. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly as it should be. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not by conquering or surrendering, but by doing what they had always done best: solving problems, adapting to challenges, and finding light in the darkness. The age of isolation was over, replaced by something far more interesting: the age of infinite possibility.